Hey everybody, happy Fertility Friday. I have got a special treat for you all today. My husband is going to be talking with us today. Basically, I just kind of wanted to bring him on so that we could talk to him a little bit about the male side of trying to conceive. A lot of the time, we talk about our experiences and what we go through, but men, they usually try to comfort you, so you don't really get a chance to find out what their experience is and how it is for them. So, as a kind of an eye-opener for all of us, I'm gonna ask him some questions about trying to conceive, and we'll see what he says. So, I'm just gonna ask him a few questions, and that I know that I've had on my mind. Now, if any of you have any other questions that you wanted to ask him, just about the male side of things, then feel free, comment below, ask away, and if we get enough questions, we might bring him back on another day and have another question session. So, the first question.
My name is Daryl Hester. Forgot about it. To introduce your husband.
Your name is husband.
My name is Daryl Hester. I'm a person. And I actually have a vlog on YouTube that she's in, that I've introduced her in. We're not going to talk about that. The vlog is called The Mythos Collective. So you guys can go to that. It'll probably be in the description, or there's going to be like a little design at the bottom here, a little graphic. And also go to my Facebook, which is also The Mythos Collective vlog, Facebook, and the same thing for Instagram. So you'll find me in 3 places. Shameless plug. Because she wasn't going to do it for me. I had to do it for myself. I'm not one of those husbands on YouTube who don't talk and just like, okay, and then get off the screen. Nah, it ain't like that. So y'all gonna get some good answers. We finna do this. Let's go.
Are you done with your intro?
Nah, that's it. I can't think of anything else.
Okay, so the first question that we've got is, as you all know, this is a kind of a faith and fertility blog. So the first question that we have for hubby on today is, what does God have to do with trying to conceive?
A lot. Everything, because He has everything to do with it. Because for those of you out there who are Christians, and for those of you who aren't, I'm going to just tell you a story about Abraham and Sarah. And basically, this is just a couple in the Bible who were extremely old. They had trouble conceiving. They always wanted a child, but at the end of it, they were super old. I mean, they had been like let's just say really old. And what happened was an angel came from heaven and told, it was either Abraham or Sarah, that they were having a child. And no, it was Abraham.
It was Abraham. Sarah was listening.
Sarah was listening, and Sarah laughed. And when Sarah laughed, that was essentially her saying, I don't believe what God is saying. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, I believe what happened after that was the angel had rebuked her and had closed her mouth for the 9 months that they were supposed to have that child, or something like that.
Not necessarily. What he did was he rebuked her and let her know that you will have a child, whether or not you believe it. And she did end up conceiving within a year.
Within a year.
We actually just talked about this in the last video where we talked about finding your joy, so make sure y'all check that out as well.
You guys can find that right here. It'll pop up in a little icon.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, so essentially the details of the story are vague to me. I've read it several times, but essentially at the end of the day, when it comes to the life of a child, when it comes to the death of a child, David and Bathsheba, you guys know that they both had a child, not only out of wedlock, but out of the event that her husband died, and essentially David killed him. And at the end of the day, the life of that child was put at risk because of what David did. So, boom, that child died. You had Moses and Pharaoh. They were going at it because Moses wanted the Israelites to be free. Pharaoh didn't want to do it. God killed the firstborn son of every person in that country, including Pharaoh. So that's when Pharaoh decided to let him go. So what I'm saying is there's so many different parts of the Bible that explain, the life and death of a child and what God has to do with it, that there's that question that you asked, literally the answer is everything. Life, death. Shoot, we can go Hannah and her going to the church, praying for the child, waiting for that time. She finally got the child, the life of that child, everything. So everything.
Yeah. Okay, great. So the next question that we have is, have you struggled at all with your faith during this process of trying to conceive? And if so, how did you get back on track?
Yeah, the answer is yes. It's weird to talk about this, but yeah, I struggle with it because you think to yourself, is this the right time? There's a lot of, number one, when it comes to a guy trying to conceive, most of us, you'll think are like, oh, whatever, you know, having a kid, they're too much money anyway, so even if I'm not having one, it's okay. I get to save up more money, blah, blah, blah. Men think about money a lot, and it's totally true. But when it comes to conceiving a child, losing a child or whatever, we do have soft spots. We do care. Like, don't think we don't care. We do care. So when it comes to the Christian man, which I can only speak from that perspective, although I can speak from it confidently because, you know, I try to be as upstanding as I can, but I lose my faith sometimes when it comes to it because you just feel like it's not going to happen. You feel like maybe not this month, next month, the month after that, you think something's wrong with her, you think something's wrong with you, you think you both did something wrong, you think you committed some sin that completely destroyed your chances, you think you lusted after that one woman down the street that one day, or, you know, you watched that one TV show and now God is angry at you. But at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with any of that. It's about timing. So your faith is important because faith without works is dead. But what are the works that you have to do in order to keep that faith right? The works you have to do is keep going to work, focus on your wife, focus on your household, because God's not going to put your child in the middle of mess. He's not going to put your child in a place that they're not going to be comforted or taken care of. Because if you and your wife are arguing all the time, if you and your spouse are always going at it, I'm speaking from both perspectives. If you know, you guys are never in agreement about anything, why would God want to put a child in the middle of that? So it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where you live. You know, none of that matters. God is not going to give you a child if you're not ready. You know, there's this great sermon that one of our pastors preached. And essentially the tag was, it may be your time, but not your turn. Right? So essentially, it may be your time. You may be up to the plate. It may be, you may be the next one in line. But it's not your turn yet. You have to wait for it to happen. I guess the best example I can give is if you are at a stoplight. Okay, well that stoplight is there. It's in front of you. You were the first one there. Okay, you're no longer in that line behind you in traffic. You are finally there. But you have to wait for the light to turn. You cannot control that light. The only thing you can control is getting to the light. You finally got there. You had enough gas. Your car was repaired. Your car is in good condition. You building that car up is your faith. You have to make sure that car has enough gas, has enough repaired parts to get to the light. That's your faith. So let's say your faith is A1. Let's say you have great faith and you're finally at the light. It's finally gonna happen. But you have to wait for the light to turn green. Now, you're thinking at this point, well, I can't control when the light turns green. Exactly. You have to wait for it to turn green. That's the whole point. You finally made it to the point where you're like, God, I'm ready. God, I got a job. We got our finances. We're finally in agreement. You know, our house is cleaned up. We have a good pattern of what we do and how we do it. We are ready for a child. But guess what? It may not be greenlit yet. God may have not given you that green light. You may be at the light, but it's just not green yet. So wait for that green light. You know, and while you're doing it, build your faith up even more. And that's all I can really say to that point, because we've all felt that way. Yeah, everybody. Whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're the one carrying the child or planting the child, I mean, it's always going to be something you feel like I'm not doing enough of. But you may be at the plate. It may be your turn. Or I'm sorry, maybe your time, but it's just not your turn yet. So you gotta wait. Just gotta wait and build your faith while you're doing it. That's it. Preach to you, by I straight up like ripped that. I ripped that whole thing I just said for my pastor. So don't. That wasn't me. It was the Holy Spirit. Boom. So that's it.
Okay. The next question is, we all know that trying to conceive can be a very stressful and very trying time. It can get really emotional. I know, especially from the woman's point of view, it can get just really emotional all over the place, and it it can get ridiculously stressful. So what do you do to relieve the stress of trying to conceive? Like, you know, what distractions or what practices do you have that can kind of help you not get too stressed out by it?
Have sex. Have a lot of sex. Here's why. Yes, I can. Here's why. Because if we're talking about conception, we need to talk about the subject of sex. Guys, listen. Hey, listen. Listen, it is Christians. They need to know about sex. Listen. If you want to relieve your stress while at the same time trying to conceive, what is the best thing to do? Have sex.
Knit.
For those out there who are Christian couples or whatever, look, have sex. If you're trying to get your mind off of it, have sex to the point where you're not thinking about it. Just don't think about it. When you go into the bedroom, it is sanctity. It is protection from the outside world, where only you and your lover have the peace to do what you need to do. Okay? The bed is undefiled. That's what the Bible says. At the end of the day, when you go in there, you guys are going in there to handle business. So what I'm saying is, the best stress reliever, of course, is to read your Bible, to pray, to fast, all those other things. But having sex works just as well. And while you're having sex, your blood pressure goes down. Yeah, we're in the scientific part of this now. Your blood pressure goes down. Your heart rate, of course, equals out. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that happen to your body when you have sex that allow you to relax. So as long as you're going in that bedroom with no expectation, just going in there, enjoying each other's bodies, souls, and spirits, that, to me, is the best stress reliever. You can knit too, but you ain't gonna get the same feelings knitting.
Can we get more of a hobby type answer?
I mean, I think having sex is a hobby.
Working out.
Okay, fine. If you want things outside of the bedroom, because you may be finding sex to be very stressful, which a lot of people do, because to be honest, if you're trying to conceive, sex can eventually get stressful because every time you have sex, you're expecting that to be it. If you're trying to think of something outside of sex, working out is fine. You know, a lot of people don't think about this, but going to work, because you get to escape the reality sometimes that you're trying to conceive and just be around other adults who are living their life. You can forget about it, being around friends and just being social. So we're all social creatures. So at the end of the day, it really is good to get around people who aren't trying to conceive, because you're not going to be thinking about trying to conceive. It's logical, right? So just do something that gets your mind off of it. I mean, you say to yourself, but I'm a walking, talking, like, tank of, you know, stuff. Like, this stuff is supposed to get out of me so I can conceive. I get that. A lot of men think that way. And women out there, wives, a lot of men feel like that. They feel just as bad as you do. So what you guys got to do, like we did just recently, we went on vacation to Savannah. That was fantastic. I mean, I was a different person. She was a different person. Our spirits were different because we no longer were in the realm of thinking about trying to conceive, but we had a lot of sex. Hey, it's true. And it was a stress reliever. And guess what? Whether or not you guys have enough money to get out of town or whatever, just take a day out to just stop thinking about it. Whatever that may be. Staycation. You know, you guys are going, hanging out with friends. There's so many things you can do. And the goal is to just get your mind off of it. And that's it. That's really my answer. And I'm surprised she thought my answer would be anything different. She wanted me, and this is the ironic part. She was like, okay, I want you to do this and I want you to tell the truth. I told the truth. And I'm speaking from my perspective. And talking about conception, you got to talk about sex, because that's how you conceive. So I want you guys below in the comment section to tell me if that was helpful information, because then that'll let her know that grown adults need to hear about sex.
You're not supposed to say the word sex.
Why wouldn't I say the word
sex? You say a different word, like
baby making,
romance.
Well, that's not necessarily true, because not every time you have sex.
Having private time, romance,
sex,
romance.
Sex. We are adults.
What do they call it?
Look at me.
What do they call it? Baby dance.
Look at me.
No.
Are you looking at the screen?
Romance.
Look at the screen. We're adults. It's called sex.
It's romance.
It's called conception.
Personal time together.
She's sensitive. So, hey, to be honest with you, in the vein of this, don't be afraid to talk about sex and have sex. You know, sometimes it really is just changing up the routine. Don't have a routine. Be spontaneous. I'm serious. Like, that stuff really does help. And it takes the stress off of trying to conceive. Because sometimes there are women out there and there are men out there who feel like sex is an awkward subject to talk about, even amongst their own spouse. But you guys got to have that conversation. You guys got to be open and honest and say, hey, I'd rather have sex in the morning, or hey, I'd rather have sex at night. Just be open about it, because it will make your sex life so much easier and conception will be so much faster.
On to the next question. What major ways has trying to conceive changed your life?
Well, before I didn't want kids. Now I do. The way that changed my life is that I'm not thinking about just myself anymore, because now you're thinking, oh man. So for example, for men, women out there, for men, you guys may feel like we don't think about it, but we do, in the sense that every month we have to think that you may be pregnant at that moment. We have no choice but to think that way, because we have to take care of you. There's certain ways we take care of you when we kind of think like that, right? So we'll see certain signs and we'll see certain things happening to your body, and we will essentially get freaked out, right? That's the way that changed my life in a big way, because now I'm looking at every single sign. Breast tenderness, mood swings, all sorts of stuff. You just don't know. So as the man, you're not in her body. So you're looking at her like, man, I don't know what's going on. So essentially, as a man, we're always on edge, because we don't know. The woman doesn't know. So it's almost like a game you have to play to figure out, well, what's what. Then, at the same time, as us men, we feel like, well, I don't want to say anything, because if I say something, she'll get excited. And if she gets excited, then we have to deal with that if she's not pregnant. Look, don't walk on eggshells. If you're excited about it, just be excited. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing that changed my life. Like, the way this whole trying to conceive thing changed me is that I used to not want to expect good things, because I feel like it would always be met with bad results. But instead of doing that, every month be excited about pregnancy, even if it's not that month. What that taught me in my own life is be excited about everything that God has for you, even if it's not happening right then. Because you're showing God that you're excited about a blessing that He's going to give to you, which makes God more willing to give it to you in the first place. So, in the same vein, it's changed my life now because I'm more positive. Every time, every month, every time I look at my wife, I'm like, yo, she could be pregnant right now. And I'm excited about it. I may not say it out loud, but it's in my head. And I treat her as such. I treat her right. I try to make sure she has no stress on her. All sorts of stuff, because you just don't know. So there's that. Also, it's always something of a point where it's like, man, am I going to be a good dad? That's changed my life now, because I never thought like that. Now that I think like that all the time, I just make sure I'm a good dad. I read my scripture, I read books, I talk to different fathers. I make sure that I'm doing the right thing in my right thinking. And I just make sure that I'm ready for what we're about to do. Because, you know, even as husband and wife, you think, oh, they must be ready to have a kid. Not always. Don't trick yourself. Just because you're married don't mean you're ready. Okay? So the main objective is to get ready. Well, how do you get ready to be a parent? I'm sure you put in the comment section. I will respond to you before you put it there. Read the Bible.
The next question. What is your advice for men who are trying to get their wives pregnant?
Okay, so my advice is to just be patient, because it's also, okay, I have two things. Get yourself checked out. Like, actually go and make sure you're okay, because I believe it's 20 or 30% of men who are in a relationship that essentially there's no conception happening. Sometimes it is the man. Sometimes the man has to get checked out because he may not have enough sperm. Something might be up with his prostate, stuff like that. So you always want to get yourself checked out first. Number two, if you find out everything's okay, then just relax, man. Because after you find out everything is good, you know she's okay, you're okay, then it's just up to God. That's it. There's nothing more you can do. There's no further you can go. You can take medication the doctor's probably going to give to you, but guess what? It's still in God's timing. So those are the two things I would say. Just relax and get checked out. Also, the third thing I would say is for the husbands out there trying to get their wives pregnant, just be mindful that sex may be a sore topic for her, because women think of sex completely different as men sometimes. And men are more willing to have sex because a lot of it is about the pleasure for us. But sometimes for women, it's not about the pleasure, it's about the business of it. And sometimes they just don't feel like doing that right now, and they're really tired, or they got a lot going on. So just be patient, you know, and just know that it'll eventually happen. But it's better for it to be nice, passionate, and meaningful than it to be just ridiculous and, you know, she just want to get you out of her face. So just be patient with her. When she's ready to have sex, do it and have fun with it. So the 3 things: relax, get checked out, and just be patient when you're ready to have sex. Give her some time. Let her get ready for it mentally, physically, and spiritually, because sex is a lot of work. You just want to be careful of that. And that's it.
Okay. Okay, so the next question. What is your advice for couples who have been struggling long term to get pregnant?
So we're talking like what, 2 years, 3 years?
Just longer than you would expect. Most of the time you'll think, like, just from the way that media portrays it and the way that it seems like all your friends' lives are going, it seems like, you know, once you decide you want to have a kid, next thing you know, you're pregnant. But then once you start getting into, you've been waiting for months, and once, especially once you hit that year, I know that year really hit me. Once you start getting into that extended amount of time, you know, you're thinking it's going to be like everybody else. The first time that you know, have sex, then you're going to get pregnant. But once you find out that you have to wait and you struggle with that wait, what's your advice for them to get through that period?
Keep waiting. It sucks to say that, but it's true. It's like hair growth. There's not much you can do about that. You just keep drinking water, keep eating healthy, and growth in general in life, it's all about waiting. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this. Number 1, make sure that you're healthy. That's it. Like, don't just be like, oh, I'm okay, I know I'm okay. No. If this is your first pregnancy and you have not gotten pregnant yet, after 1, 2, 3 years, it's time to go get checked out. Period. Now, for those of you who have gotten checked out, like my wife has, and like I just recently did, I'm waiting on those results. Once we find out that we're fine, once y'all found out that you guys were okay, then that's just a waiting game. At this point, there's nothing you guys know about ovulation, you know about, you know, the time of the month when you guys need to figure out when to have sex, but that's it. After you know that you're okay, it's all about timing. So for those who are long-term and there is something wrong, like your wife has, I've heard PCOS, or the man has different issues with sperm and semen and things like that. For those of you who do have issues, all I can say is pray, because there's nothing more you can do. You can keep going to the doctor, keep spending money. You can even do IVF or IUIs, all that stuff. But even those can fail. At the end of the day, you wait, you be patient. It will happen when it happens. And that's all around, for healthy, not healthy, for those who have issues, for those who, just everybody, all around the board. Just keep waiting. Put your mind on something else. This world is more than having babies. This life is more than just being a parent. You can be a parent to somebody else who doesn't have a parent. You can be a better uncle, a better aunt. You can be a better teacher to somebody. You can impart yourself into somebody without them coming out of you. And I think that is important too. Just remember, there are other kids who need help just as bad. And while you're trying to have this kid, your own kid, be mindful of those who already are alive and who need help. And that's it. Just focus on something else and keep waiting. And that's all I can say. That's all there is to say. Because ain't nothing else you can do. If you could guide the sperm to the egg, and you would, but you can't. Only God can do that. So all you do is wait. Wait.
Good.
It's the most boring answer I think I've given this whole time. What do you think about this? Wait. What about, no, just wait. That's all. I mean, because as much as I'd like to, and mind you, this is coming from somebody who's been married for 2 years. We've been trying for 1.5 years, and it hasn't happened. This is coming from a couple that had a miscarriage at 6 weeks. This is coming from people who experienced it. So I'm not sitting here you know, looking over at a pedestal, looking down at you. We're going through it too. So don't think, oh, well, he's just saying that because, you know, that's the simple answer. No, I'm saying it because I'm doing it. I'm saying it because she has to do it. I'm saying it because it's not just you. It's not just the people watching this. It's us. You know, and we may not have been going through this for 3, 5, 7, 10 years, but a year and a half is enough time to learn a lot of lessons. And so those lessons will extend far into the future when you have your first kid. And now you're going to want your second kid. And now you're like, oh God, I want a second kid. And you'll be doing the same prayer, going through the same motions of being worried and making sure you're okay. Because it doesn't just end here. So make sure while you're going through it now, you know how to handle it. So in the future, when you have 2 kids and you're ready for your third, you know how to pray, fast, and wait. That's it.
Amen.
That's my thing. That's mine. What's the next question?
The next question is, how do you protect your marriage from the stress of trying to conceive? Like, how do you keep the fire going?
Well, that's the thing.
And not
like,
get too stressed out and upset with each other.
That's a tough question. That's a tough question, because when you have sex, you're still thinking about it. I mean, after sex, you're like, I wonder if this is it. You know. All right. So
okay. So think of it like this: how do you remain with a strong relationship with each other, even though there's all this stress going on?
Man,
there's so much going on. Like, how do you keep that fire burning? Because a lot of the time, trying to conceive, even when you've just been trying for a few months, it can tear people's relationships apart.
All right, let me answer that question. Very simple, very plain. How do you keep the fire going? Keep adding wood. What do I mean? Logically, when a fire is going, you keep adding wood. The wood provides oxygen for the fire to keep. It provides ignition for the fire to keep, and it provides more time because the wood allows it to burn slower. What you need is something that will keep the fire burning. The wood essentially being, do something new. Go somewhere different. Get a hotel room. Try it out there. When you come home, just be spontaneous. Don't do it only at nighttime. Don't do it only in the morning. Don't do it only when you feel like it. Do it at all times of the day when you least expect it. Go up behind your wife and be like, we're doing it right now. Go up behind your husband while he's working on the computer and be like, here we go. Just do it. Be spontaneous, because the spontaneity really keeps it going. If you guys are planning everything day in and day out, it has to be at this time. It has to be like this. It's gonna get boring. You're gonna be bored, and ain't nothing gonna come out of it, because it's boring. Don't be bored with each other. Don't get bored. And a lot of the fights come from being bored. The best thing to do is just keep the spark going. Add something different. Add the romance. The bedroom is undefiled. Let me tell you something real quick. Look, if y'all gotta put a camera in the corner of the room, just to add a spark to it. You know what I'm saying?
Stop that.
Like, do what you gotta do, bruh. Do what you gotta do.
No, don't do it.
The bedroom is undefiled. You can do all that. Don't listen. This is advice for them. This ain't necessarily advice for you. I know you already. I'm not saying this for you.
Nah.
I'm saying it to y'all out there. Yes, it is. I'm saying it. I didn't say record it and put it on the internet. I didn't say that.
Nope.
Do, and this is my pastor said. Okay, so this is coming from a leader.
Don't you put.
This is coming from a leader.
Don't you put
do what you gotta do to keep the spark going. If you gotta do role play, if you gotta dress up like a pirate, if you as the husband have to break into the back door and act like you're a firefighter there to save your wife and douse a fire, you do what you gotta do to save your marriage. I don't know about this. Do what you gotta do to save your marriage. That's it. Because at the end of the day, a child is a child, and if the child's not there, then you don't want that invisible child to ruin your marriage. It ain't there yet. You trying to have a baby is really the least of it, because you know you got to keep your marriage together. What good is having a baby if your marriage is falling apart? What does that mean? If you guys are not on one accord, a child is not going to do anything but make it worse. So get on one accord, do what you got to do. And when you're having sex, focus on each other. Don't focus on a baby. Yes, that is the result. But it's almost like you have to have sex without thinking about that. Just go in there because you're trying to connect with your spouse. Just connect with them spiritually, physically, and emotionally. and you'll forget about it. I promise. This is coming from experience. You will forget about it. It won't even be on your mind. That's it. So how do you protect your marriage from that? How do you just stay focused on each other? Because it takes two to tango. So why am I more focused on a child that's not here yet than I am on my wife, who's the one that's going to be bearing my child? Focus on your wife. Mm-hmm. Women, focus on your husband. Mm-hmm. He has needs. I mean, like, don't just be like, oh, well, what about the baby? What about the baby? Baby ain't here yet, bruh. What about you? What about your husband? Focus on each other. And then when you find out you're pregnant and you look at that stick and it says positive, then y'all start talking about the baby. But until then, focus on each other. The end.
Okay. Now, the last, but not the least, important question. This is for couples who have dealt with or are dealing with, similar to what we've dealt with in the past. How do you deal with a miscarriage? How do you get through it? How do you bounce back from it? And how do you prevent fear of pregnancy loss?
All right.
It's a deep question.
I can only speak for one miscarriage. I cannot speak for two. I cannot speak for three or more. I have never experienced a miscarriage more than once. My wife has never experienced. So I'm only talking to men and women out there who've experienced miscarriage one time, and that's the only one they want to deal with. That's all I'm talking to, because I can't talk to y'all who's dealt with it more than once. When we were going through it, I was destroyed. I mean, because what a lot of people don't realize is the heart starts beating at around 5 or 6 weeks. So you're expecting the next time you go back to the doctor, you're going to see a heartbeat, and boom, that's the beginning of life. For some of you out there, for some Christians, the beginning of life is as soon as you conceive. But that's it. Here it is, and here we go. We never had that here we go moment. It was literally 7 days between us finding out and us finding out again that the child was no longer there. So, I mean, it's devastating. It ain't no way you can really get ready for that. As much as you want to, just be like, well, you know, if we have a miscarriage, then we just got to... No, there is none of that, because you never expect to have a miscarriage. You never expect for your house to catch on fire, so why would you expect to have a miscarriage? You can't. So only when it does happen, you just got to trust God and you got to just trust in your own strength. I mean, we've all been through something terrible. I've had guns in my face. I've been robbed before. You know, I've had my car robbed before. I've had people, you know, in my life shot, killed. You know, I've experienced a lot of heavy stuff. So when I was going through the miscarriage, it's just another bump in the road. As long as you're healthy and your wife is healthy, yeah, there's nothing you can do. You can't expect bad things in life to happen. If you do, you're just being negative and you're not going to enjoy your life like you want to. Enjoy the pregnancy. Go through it like it's the first time. If you have a miscarriage, then you got to fight through it like you fought through everything else in life. It is another bump in the road. It will pass. You will get pregnant again. That's how the body works. The body may have found an abnormality in the DNA. It may have been an issue with your child that your body and God saved you from. So think of it like that. Think of it positively and move forward with life, expecting the next one.
Okay, so that concludes all the questions. In closing though, I do want to go ahead and ask Daryl if he has any... Yes, honey, you. Stop. Do you have any words of encouragement, scriptures that you want to share just in closing to share with everybody to offer them some encouragement on their journey?
Oh, words of encouragement, don't get too caught up in trying to have a baby. Life is more than about having kids. It's way more than that. There are other people out there who need help. You know, there's plenty of things to do. Yeah, you watch TV. Go binge watch a show on Netflix. Go run. Go exercise. Go to work. You know, just get your mind out of it, because it's like, it's going to happen when it happens. For those who are healthy, it's going to happen when it happens. For those who have issues, look, you know, you just got to find your path. Yeah, just keep praying. You got to find your path. If your path is adopting and you pray about it and that's where God's leading you, then do that. If your path is to just take care of other kids, or surrogacy, or you being or someone being a vessel for you to have a child, then really there's other options that God has allowed people to do in the Bible. So if you're concerned about the biblical reasoning behind it, don't, because research it.
Look it up in the Bible, pray about it.
Yeah, it's happened. So
the Holy Spirit will guide you.
Yeah, and with us, you know, we got the word to go to the doctor, and we did. Found out my wife is completely healthy. That was exciting. So she's like, her tubes are clear, her uterus is perfecto. I mean, like, I hit the jackpot with this one.
Bless the Lord.
And hey, and there's nothing wrong with, if there's something is wrong with you, because guess what? It can still happen. Plenty of times it's happened to people with PCOS, people who've been told they'll never have kids. For me, I don't know what's going on with me. I did get her pregnant, but I'm waiting for my test results. Today, I did do a semen analysis, so I'm waiting on that. We might do a separate video about that experience. I'm not sure what she's, you know, rearing up to do. But that experience was interesting, and I did it. I got it done. I still feel a little self-conscious about it because I'm like, was it enough? Did I do good? You know, do I have to do another test? Because those tests are expensive. Like, if you don't have insurance, it's expensive. And, you know, so, hey, it's just all about focusing on God and seeing what He wants you to do. Keep trying. Sex is fun. So don't make it not fun. Don't make it weird. Don't make it... That's how you're going to have your kid. That's it. Like, it has to be as good as possible. Focus on each other and just be good to each other. And that's it, you know? Feed each other and go to work. You know, we got a pet bird, you know?
That's a story for another time.
Distract yourself. That's it. Keep having sex and distract yourself. And keep praying. That's it.
Cool. Any scripture?
Genesis 1:1. Look it up. No, just read about Hannah. I believe it's 2 Samuel.
1 Samuel.
1 Samuel chapter
1, I believe, actually.
I mean, it starts from the beginning.
Because, I mean, it's the story about Samuel.
Right. So just read it. I mean, read it.
Yeah, we read it.
Study it. Don't just read stories in the Bible. Read stories in real life. Read 21st century people who went through it and prayed about it and got their answer. Because look, all the stories aren't in the Bible. Don't trick yourself and believe that. There are stories happening right now. God is still writing. People are still writing these stories, whether it be online or a forum. You know, that's their book. Our book is still being written. We haven't gotten there yet. So once that miracle happens, that's going to be a part of our book that God inspired. So if you think of the Bible that is still ever expanding, and that you are a part of that gospel, and you are destined to go out and tell people about what God did for you, your gospel hasn't been completely written yet. So just be ready for God to speak. God spoke to us. Her test came out fine. Mine, I'm positive we're going to come out fine. We're going to have a kid in the near future. You guys are going to see that journey. And that's going to be a part of whatever gospel God allows us to write. And it's going to be in His will for His glory. And that's it. So that's what I got to say. From the husband's perspective.
Well, thank you so much, honey, for joining us on today. Round of applause. Woo! Clap, Timothy. Yeah. I might have him come back sometime in the future if you all want. Just comment below if you have any other questions, anything you want to say to him or to me about, you know, this video, about anything that we have somehow helped you with, and inadvertently, that's what we're here for. So feel free to comment below. Let us know any questions, comments, prayer requests, any of that. Feel free always. Make sure that y'all click on that subscribe button so that you can be alerted whenever I post new videos, whenever we post new videos. Also, like he said, check out his channel, his YouTube channel. It's really, you know, popular, I guess. Yes, it's very popular. And his social media and everything, I'll make sure that we put all the links and everything, at least in the description. So I guess until then, we'll see you later. Y'all have a blessed and wonderful day, and just remember to keep God first.
She didn't tell me to do that. I just thought it'd be fitting since I'm here.
Anyway, have a great day.
And keep God first. See? That's awesome.
See you next time.
Bye.